Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Astute Advantage Listen Up podcasts. And after quite a break, actually, after a long time, we've got Mindy Tagliente back again. How are you, Mindy?
I'm surviving. What can I say? I'd love to say I'm
thriving. Using that phrase.
Yeah, surviving. Welcome to my lovely office. This is my office. Work from home day today. I'm trying to escape 3 children at home learning because we're back in lockdown in Hong Kong. So yeah, this is my peace and quiet, my retreat.
It's beautiful. I mean, if you look at the comparison, I'm sitting in the dark. You're in this bright, sunny kind of wellness for life kind of feel. It's very doom and gloom on my side. I must think about this background, I think, going forward.
Yeah, totally.
So Mindy is from her own company called Wellness for Life. When we first started doing these podcasts back when the pandemic first hit, Mindy was a regular and became extremely busy, which is a good thing for people, that she was helping. She's based in Hong Kong, but she helps clients all over the world on various workplace issues in terms of wellness for life, mental health issues, and does training courses on these things for managers, employees, and so forth. So this is just like one tiny string to your bow, really, Mindy. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this with us. But today, what Mindy is going to talk to us about is something that's certainly affecting a lot of my clients in the UK and certainly hitting everybody all over the world is talent. Finding the right people to fit your business. It's very much an employee focus now in terms of what the market is. They're calling the shots is a lot of how employees kind of feel. And so I suppose it would be really interesting, Minnie, to hear what your take is on, what is it that employers are currently facing in terms of this loss of talent? Why is it happening? And I know we said in our title of this podcast, top 3 tips. I know there's like loads, but if we can pick on the main ones, and then what I always do is put a shout out to everybody to genuinely reach out to you, and everybody will have Mindy's contact details that will go with this podcast. You can even ring her, and she will pick up the phone. I'll give you a WhatsApp number, so you can give her a call or email her in that way. So let's get stuck in. What is going on at the moment with employees and finding the right people to fit their business?
So as you know, COVID has come and still here and it's changed our whole environment. I think when something stays long enough, as COVID has, you can't go back to a normal or a new normal. It's a whole other dimension of working that we're going into. It's changed on so many levels, and I guess it's changed in different countries, different parts of the world, according to the different ways that the countries have managed the pandemic. So I know for here in Hong Kong, for example, we're losing heaps of talent to Singapore. So, people are really fed up with the restriction laws of not being able to travel where your work is primarily based around visiting different markets and traveling all over to ensure your business is running well. And people can't do that. So what's happened is that companies that are have people based in Hong Kong to do this, let's say Pan-Asia work, are sending people out from Europe and the States to do the work. So it's just not making sense anymore. So a lot of people have left Hong Kong. Companies have set up in Singapore. People are also a bit, disgruntled with the fact that we can't travel even to see families and so on and so forth. So they've moved back to their respective countries, whether it be US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere. So we're seeing a loss of talent. And, the hiring and recruiting process for a lot of these big companies can take up to a year. So you've got a gap happening here where every mass exodus of people. And then where do we find our talent? How do we operate as usual? It is a problem. It's a huge problem. In the rest of the world, I think in a different way, the flip side of it is that people are disgruntled because they don't want to go to work anymore. They've had enough time in lockdown and working from home, and they've had that flexibility, and they just don't like that confinement of working 9 to 5 in an office. And so they're kind of feeling disgruntled that they have to go back to that. It's like almost going back to a normal when the world has progressed. Potentially they could be more productive. They could be more engaged working in that flexible hybrid environment. And so, there's people losing talent for that too. So depending on where you are in the world, it's been challenging. It's been challenging for companies. Yeah.
A lot of the issues that a lot of my clients have been complaining about, quite frankly, is what candidates are doing is they're using the advantage that they have in the current choices or options that they have to find other work, and then they make applications, and then they go back to the same employer to then renegotiate the existing salary, because again they put them in a stronger position. So they're really it's really stuck. It's really, what are the things that employers can do, because when there's so much choice, because people are adjusted to what matters to them. As you say, they'll be with their family, or they, for forever since we were professional and working, what did employers say? You can't work from home. And we all know that was a big fat lie, because then suddenly it was just rammed down everybody's throat. And it obviously has its different challenges, but what do we do here? What do we do here? How do we find the right people? If they can call the right salary, they can call the hours, they can call whatever the situation. Aren't we just stuffed?
No, because actually what I think companies are failing to see is a lot of the talent work like that now, especially if we're talking with the new Gen Z that have come in. They're all about that flexibility. So in some sense, the boundaries are being pushed for leaders, and I hate to say it, but old school mentality. It's about I'd say being flexible for companies. Okay, you mentioned one, which is pay rises and being fair as much as you can to incentivize, because money always talks at the end of the day, for most people. So I think that's one, but then being flexible. So here in China, as the workplace is kind of shifting to go back, what's happening is I think the leaders and the managers are having trouble retaining employees because they're finding that they work better in a hybrid environment. So they're working partially from home. They've got that flexibility and that freedom to choose where they work best from. And okay, you still need to ensure that you've got your team, building and your team solidified, but necessarily it doesn't have to be in person anymore. So being flexible mentally is a really important thing. Being flexible also, socially, it's important, because you've got to be accepting that these people are working flexible. It's not 9 to 5 anymore. It's when it works for you, right? When are you most productive? Could be at 1 a.m. for you. So, it's really being mentally agile, I think, and moving with the times to retain the talent. That's one thing you can do. I think also, as we've evolved since we've been talking, it's been a couple of years, life has evolved. We've changed. People have grown inside of the COVID environment. We've all grown and developed. So opportunities for growth is the second tip. Giving your employees opportunities to grow within your network, not just professionally, but I mean personally, right? So you know how a lot of people separate their life from work. Actually, life and work should be your joy, your purpose, your potential, your everything. So you wake up with that passion to go to work because you're thriving, only because you're growing and you're developing and your confidence is building and people are nurturing that growth. So, having that growth and giving the room to grow, to empower people, is of essential importance. Micromanagement totally out. What do you do? That's hindering growth, right? So micromanagement, just empowerment. And how do you empower your staff? But the only way you're going to do that is really by getting to know what it is that empowers them. So taking the time to personalize that connection and work out what makes them drive. What can you do to encourage that creativity, innovation, that, forward thinking and all of that? What is it? But you're not going to know that unless you really take the time to cultivate a connection with them on an individual basis, right?
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, the reality is it's about what fills your cup, isn't it? What is it that makes you fulfilled? What is it that really gives you joy? And sad to say, the majority of people do not do that. The majority of people are in mediocre jobs because of whatever they talk to themselves about, and whatever their internal dialogue is, and so forth. Right? I totally get that. So when we're thinking about these options, one of the, just to get a bit granular about it, Mindy, is employers that say to me, well, look, let's say I've got a sales team. And what I want now is I want them to come in, and I want them to come in 2-3 days a week, not the whole week, because you can't beat the environment, the little nuances that are there in face-to-face. You and I, we can have a drink over Zoom, right? It's not the same as having face-to-face and actually doing those little bits and pieces of the conversation, body language, all things that pick up that really do have an impact. How do you quantify that? Well, God knows how you necessarily quantify that. So there's people that have been at home now that are saying, no, I don't want to go in. It's a slight tangent, but I guess my point is about the control that perhaps that employees have, or how employers feel about it, and saying, well, I don't want to come in. We've been working like this for the last however long. Why do I need to come in? Well, and it is a preference. It's not a need because the can survive. But quite frankly, everybody needs all hands on deck now. So if employees are causing those sorts of challenges, and the same is happening with recruitment. Well, I'm calling this. Well, this is the way I want to work. How do we adapt?
Yeah, well, basically, I think that's a really good point, because, it's not the way you've been presenting it feels like the balance is really like this way. So it's all about getting that balance. Okay. And how do you get balance? It's how do you manage situations, personalities, values. So the third point I was actually going to make is that what you can really do, and what we heavily advise, we do a lot of value driven leadership, for example, workshops and training, is it's all about how do you match your employees' values to the company values. Are they well placed, for example? What is that lack of drive for them not to want to come in face to face? Okay, so how do you get to their core values and their strengths? And how do you harness those strengths? And they go, actually, you know what? You're not in the right position for your strength. You're better placed in this position. Why don't we move you into this team? And why don't you try this for a couple of months and see how you go there? So that flexibility comes in again. And also you're matching the skill set up to the right places. And then you're driving, encouraging the growth, which I talked about, and the development of your employees at the same time as building your company and hitting your bottom line as well as exceeding it. So it's not just about okay, yeah, we have to give in to the employees, they want to stay at home. Oh, we have to give in to the employer, we've got to go into work. No, it's about what are your common goals? How are you going to get there? And how are you going to manage getting there, And I think that in itself brings so much joy, because you're taking the time to kind of build purpose in something rather than he said, she said, I say, you say, So it's
like that, actually, Mindy, can we? Because if we think about it, your value system is your code. What are the things that really matter to you? What are the lines you won't cross, and again, it's really amazing how many people don't know what their values are.
They don't know.
I didn't know before I kind of got into business and started looking at vision, mission, all that sort of stuff. But when you're on this stuff, and it isn't something that I put from the top down. I did it with my team, and they came out with the values because there's stuff that all matters to us. So and that's how you come. I think one of our mission, I think, was heart and soul. That's really mattered to me and my guys, right? It meant there was something about straight talking, no bullshit, because it's a legal job. Right. Being compassionate, being loyal, stuff like that. And it came out, and as they suddenly started to realize about themselves what mattered. And some of my kids, they did it with their own kids. Imagine at a children's age, what your values are. So if you're speaking to the candidate, it isn't money. It is not even necessarily talking about hours or those sorts of details. You're talking about that thing that you get up for in the morning. That is what people are now looking for. That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
And what I'm also talking about is that you're right. Firstly, the values, when we do our value workshops, the amount of people that take it back to their partners, their spouses, because they understand more about who they've been married to for 30 years and their kids as well. They see, oh, wow, now I know how to manage you a little bit better because I see what's important to you. Yes. It's really important for life in general on a bigger scale, not just work, but huge to retain talent, to drive productivity and engagement, motivation and growth within a company. So basically the values are absolutely the starting point of whatever we do and however we teach people. We start right there. People don't know, as you said, you say, what's important to you? They're like, money. Okay. What else is important? They really have no idea. So I think it's and you know why it's even more important now? Because Gen A, they're called Generation Alpha. We call them the mindful generation because they are coming. Let me tell you, the gap is closing years ago, but they're coming very soon. They're not motivated by money. They're not motivated by that. They are all motivated by purpose. See, schools at the moment with the IB program, they're all learning this. Schools that are teaching positive psychology that we've worked with in the past, they're all into character strengths. The 6-year-olds know what their character strengths are. The 7-year-olds know what well-being is. The 8-year-olds are doing it and going out into the environment and doing it because it's part of their purpose as they develop and grow. So that's not going to suddenly disappear when they go into the workplace. In fact, it probably is going to enhance. And that's when people are going to lose the most talent or not even hire them, is if they're not talking the same language or have the same values, or at least understanding the values of the next generation. And I think that is, I really do foresee a huge gap coming in, probably even bigger than the millennials that we had. So it's important that companies get with the whole, fluidity of how we're retaining and looking for talent now. It's the paradigms have shifted. So you can't go back to a paradigm that is rigid when the new influx is all fluid and kind of moving. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Mindy, it's something that a lot of my clients, a lot of employers are dealing with right now. Anybody that's watching this, And I appreciate this is just a bite-sized podcast. You know, we're not even scratching the surface. We're giving a little prod. You know, what do people do? Anybody watching this, and obviously your details will go out with this. Tell them the next step. What's the conversation you can have with them to start getting them over these hurdles, looking at their values? What is it you can do for businesses that will help them to get over this?
Firstly, we really need to understand, and we do a diagnostic of everybody we work with, because every company is different according to regions. As I said, we've worked with India, they're dealing with different things. We've worked with Vietnam, dealing with different things. China, UK, completely different. So we first come in and do a diagnostic, and we'll understand what your company culture is like and where the gaps in the culture are. What challenges are you facing right now? What challenges did you face pre-pandemic, and how are they continuing or differing now? Then we'll go away and we'll put together a program that we think will suit the employees. If they go for the big whopper package, we then do a diagnostic with all the employees, depending on the size of the team. Yeah. We put together a well-being solution, a wellness solution that could be a combination of mental, physical, social, emotional health. And that's on many, many different levels. And then we'll deliver it. And then we'll do another diagnostic at the end to measure how far we've come and where we need to go, because well-being, as you know, it doesn't just happen overnight. It's not a tick box exercise. We're talking about culture. We're talking about lifestyle. We're talking about habitual change.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
This is something that requires work and analysis. And then figuring out, and there's no one size fits all. They might all be going towards the same goal, but how we get there is a different thing. Of course, that makes sense. You know, there's no half job here, Mindy, is there? Let's do it or not.
Let's do it or not do it. And this, I think the nice thing to see these days is people are starting to understand that. It's not the HR tick box exercise anymore, because you know why? People are responding to it. Our results that we've seen just over the last 6 months alone have been phenomenal. You know, the engagement, the amount of drive. Of course, we have creative ways of keeping the retention of people throughout the 5-month, 3-week, 4-week program, whatever it is that we're offering. And they're enjoying it. And what's happening is they're solidifying as a team more, and that spirit is coming back, and that kind of, because you're nurturing their personal growth. And I think that is where companies don't see, you know, they put it in the soft skill basket. Actually, it's the hardest skill you're ever going to learn, is to get in touch with yourself and know who you are. Right. And then you can talk about your hard skills. So yeah, that's what we'd do. We'd basically come and do a diagnostic, really analyze how are we going to tailor make something for your company, and then how are we going to follow up and continue this. So we're together making a behavioral change within your company, cultural change. Yeah.
Mindy Taglienti from Wellness for Life. Thank you very much. And thank you. After quite a while, I'm gonna keep bothering you.
Nice. Nice to see you after so long.
And you know, you're such a helpful person as well, and you can help a lot of the people that we're looking to help anyway. So thank you very much, Mindy. Everybody, thank you very much for watching. As I say, Mindy's contact details are going up with this podcast. Please pick up the phone, reach out to her, you know, have a conversation. You don't have to do anything, at least get an idea of what's out there and the help that's out there to get you over these sorts of challenges. Again, thanks again, Mindy. Thank you, everybody, and bye for now.